Hey VC, what's up? It's me, yours truly. I am back to post a quick video here. This is actually going to be my response to Steve, Vinyl Community Steve Carlson, his 1,000 subscribers contest. I actually stumbled across your video last night, and as soon as I, watched it, the wheels started turning, and I started pulling out some stuff last night. And then this morning, I pulled some other stuff out, so I finally got kind of the stack together that I wanted to show. So I just kind of sat down here really quick to shoot the video. So I love when people do that, when they make these contest videos, and like as I'm watching it, I'm already just racing through my head of what I would pick. That just always kind of gets me, really charged and engaged with those questions. So seemingly a simple question, but it wasn't quite. But yeah, congratulations on the 1,000 subs, my friend, and definitely happy to be able to jump on board and kind of celebrate that with you. So simply put, Steve just asked us to show at least 5 of our kind of go-to albums. Just kind of the albums that day in, day out, week in, week out, year in, year out, whatever the case may be. Like every time you go to that album, you're never disappointed. It never gets old. It's just, where you go when you want a good listen. So I was able to narrow my top picks down to about 6 or 7, but I did pull out a number of honorable mentions that they were, powerful enough that I think they need to be shown. So anyway, I'm just gonna kind of go through everything I pulled out because we weren't limited to 5 or whatever else, but I will definitely kind of clarify my top picks. All right, so let's just kind of dive into it. As always, you'll find a little bit of a diversity in things that I pulled out, but I'm gonna start here with 2 CDs because I don't think either one of these have been put on vinyl yet. But one here is the Pat Metheny group, or just Pat Metheny actually. What's It All About? Fantastic CD. Just, anytime I want to put like some background chill music on, I've definitely probably gone to this CD as much as anything. It's on all the time. Matter of fact, I even noticed because someone left a comment on my room tour video, and I went there last night or night before last, whenever it was, and I just kind of noticed even while I was doing my room tour, this is what was playing in the background. So fantastic album, just him doing some beautiful acoustic work. He covers songs like, The Sound of Silence, and Cherish is also a fantastic song. Great, just chilled, nice, crisp guitar. Awesome album. Never get tired of listening to that. The other CD I'm going to go to is Seal, which I think was his 3rd album. Now, of course, this album made it really big because of the song Kiss from a Rose, the whole Batman thing back in the 90s, whenever that was, which quite frankly to me is one of the most average songs on the entire album. I mean, with like Bring It On, Prayer for the Dying, Dreaming in Metaphors, Don't Cry. I mean, Seal just does some of his amazing emotional work. And again, it's just a awesome, beautiful album to listen to in a chill type session. So I would so love for them to press this on vinyl. It'd be so awesome. But yeah, those are 2 CDs I go to constantly. Another one, Black Crowes. The Southern Harmony of Musical Companions. I mean, again, another fantastic album. And I've always said that the entire side 1 of this album is just the epitome of just all things that make rock and roll are covered on that first side of the album. Whether you're talking about the blues elements that, really created rock and roll. You talk about the Southern rock elements. You talk about, like the heavy punchiness of guitar. I mean, just the amazing type of, your higher screeching Robert Plant type of vocals. Just like all of those different things that we think about when we equate to rock and roll is summed up on side 1 of this album. And arguably to me, the song Sting Me is one of the most perfect rock and roll songs ever. Even the piano or the organ and kind of the gospel elements, I never get tired of going to that album. I better go a little faster too. I won't get too in depth with all of these or this video will take forever. Marvin Gaye, I Want You. Never get tired of listening to that either. Mainly because this album is more about the Marvin Gaye feel Like, I like the way this album feels even more so than I know a majority of the lyrics on here. It just seems to be that perfect intersection between the stuff that Marvin was doing in the 60s and 70s and what he was going to do in the 80s. It just seems like this was the perfect crossroads where you had all of that stuff coming together. And the title track, of course, I Want You, never ever gets old. Just listened to that 2 nights ago, actually. Another one here, Black Sabbath, Master of Reality. Again, this kind of sums up a lot of the beauty that I love about early Black Sabbath. Paranoid is a fantastic album, of course, but, you know, with songs like Sweet Leaf and Into the Void, you know, I just, again, and for the longest time, this just wasn't a Sabbath album I paid much attention to at all. And just somewhere out of the blue, it was like, oh, that's my go-to Sabbath album. So that's definitely one. Another fantastic one too, when you just want to kind of sit back and enjoy the beauty of the singer-songwriter, Carole King, Tapestry. Again, so many hits on this album, but it's just such a soothing album to listen to, and I love it because every time I listen to it, it takes me right to that space where she's actually sitting in the photograph. It just really draws me into that, you know, 60s, 70s era, which, you know, I wasn't an adult and, you know, wasn't even born the 60s or whatever, but it's just something about that album and the songs on there just takes you to very good places, and I never get tired of listening to it. Love Supreme by John Coltrane, that also never gets old. I mean, just in my opinion, best jazz album ever. Haven't heard anything that's ever stumped me beyond this, and so again, another album that never gets old. Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry. This one doesn't get old either, which is kind of funny because one of the first hair band type of albums I ever listened to, ever discovered in my childhood was Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry. One of the early tapes that I got, and so I've been pretty much jamming out to this thing since about 6th grade, and it hasn't stopped since. Still play stuff off of this all the time. So, love it. War, The World is a Ghetto. Again, this is one of those albums that, like, when you get in the mood to want to hear just kind of some nice, just a nice jam session, really. You know, when you want to just kind of really sit back and appreciate the beauty of various musicians. You know, this album is always one that I go to. So just listen to that 2 nights ago, over the weekend. LCD Sound System, which is really odd that I would pull this one out with 4533. And I say odd because I am not much of a dancey, techno, electronic, you know, all that type of stuff. I love the dream pop stuff, which, you know, still in the same, by far not the same thing. But sometimes the dream pop can start to get close to some of the more electronic stuff. But yeah, the electronic stuff is usually something I just do not like, and I freaking love this album, and I don't know why. And again, this is one I tend to go to a lot just because of the feel. I just love the feel of this album. Because that's what I find is with a lot of go-to albums for me, they aren't albums that, you know, I really sit and put a lot of focus on when I listen to them, but it's just kind of that I throw this on and just the feel that it brings to the room. It's just kind of like almost like lighting a candle and getting a fresh scent in the room, like that type of effect. But anyway, so the last 3 honorable mentions I'll show here, and this easily could have made one of my top 6 or 7 too, but Houdini Escape. Man, this is, when I think about old school hip hop and I get in that mood, this album never lets me down. 5 minutes of funk, Freaks Come Out at Night, Friends, We Are Houdini. Oh, one of the baddest hip hop albums ever. And again, been listening to this since I was in grade school and never gets old. Ever, ever. Another great album. Psycho Candy, Jesus and the Mary Chain. Again, this is another one of those great feel albums. You know, it's just that muddy, you know, just that muddy 80s new wave. I just like the way this album feels from front to back. So this is one I also go to a lot just for that. And last of the honorable mention, Neil Young, Comes a Time. With all the fantastic stuff Neil has done, I've definitely played this album more so than any other from Neil Young. And this is really kind of up and down his country phase or whatever. But again, the whole entire side one, Going Back, Comes a Time, Look Out for My Love, Lot of Love, Peace of Mind. Every single song is just fantastic, just laid back, just the smooth country that Neil can bring to the table. Definitely my favorite album by him. Again, probably doesn't have my favorite song, but as an album, I definitely go to this one more so than any other Neil Young album. All right, so let's get into my absolute top picks now that we got those out of the way. And these are albums that I do spin a lot. One here, Bad Company, self-titled. Anytime I just get in the mood for it, I would just love to hear some good old rock music. Bad Company. I mean, it's just like my fingers just automatically go. I mean, this album, with what Rogers was doing and, Can't Get Enough, Rock Steady, Ready for Love, just, oh my gosh. I mean, just everything on here is just some of the purest rock and roll. And I love it. I never get tired of it. So I really want to get a Japanese pressing of this. So I've actually decided that if I stumble across some things at a good price, I'm going to invest a little bit into getting a few different pressings of this album because it really is a total and complete go-to album. And kind of another strange one out of the blue. I'm sure this one might make a few people laugh or maybe give me a few thumbs down, but I don't care. Billy Ocean, Suddenly. I go to this album a lot. I freaking love it. I absolutely love it. Of course, you have the hits like Caribbean Queen and Lover Boy, which are probably the two songs I listen to the least on this album. But they were, of course, the big hits. But diving into stuff like Lucky Man or Mystery Lady and Syncopation, and those songs, I never get tired of listening to those. So this is constantly a go-to album right there. Next on the board, got to go with Steely Dan, The Royal Scam. Really want a Japanese pressing of this too, if I can ever find one at a decent price. But yeah, again, just fantastic. Doesn't even have my favorite Steely Dan songs on it. But when I think about just listening to Steely Dan from front to back, again, this album is just a complete pleasure in just beautiful music. I mean, there's just the beautiful creativity and the, all the strange timing things that Steely Dan did in their music, and this just seems to capture it to perfection from front to back. So this is always my go-to album with Steely Dan, and again, I spin that a lot. And then there's last three here. Audio 2, again, kind of some old school 80s hip hop. Very, very great stuff. I'd be curious to know how many people are actually familiar with this band, this particular album. But yeah, Top Billin', What More Can I Say? I Don't Care. Make It Funky. Again, this was just an album, again, where almost like a Steely Dan type of thing. They were just doing something a little bit different than a lot of the groups were doing back at that time. And it's something that's just kind of, it's just a little magical for me, and it never gets old. So in the last two that I'll show, Miguel, Kaleidoscope Dream. I've said this so many times, and specifically when I'm talking about this album, I am not a fan of modern day hip hop. I'm sorry, well, yeah, excuse me, that's actually true too. Modern day hip hop or modern day R&B, I am not a fan at all. Pretty much anything mid to late 90s back, I'm usually pretty cool with, but 2000s and up, I tend to be pretty good. Don't like the stuff. Which is why I was almost impressed as hell when this album came out, and I think I remember too. It was I think it was Secco Funk that showed this album in one of his videos and was talking about it, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll check it out. He had some good stuff to say about it, and literally this album saved modern day R&B for me. So yeah, I spin it a lot. Love it, love it, love it. Such a great mixture of kind of old school 80s R&B. He keeps it simple, yet it's very catchy, great melodies. Songs like The Thrill, Kaleidoscope Dream, Use Me, Adorn. I mean, just Arch and Point. Fantastic album. And so yeah, I listened to that one quite a bit. But my number one, and this is actually two albums, but it's by the same group, so I'm just actually kind of picking this number one. And I think it's safe to say have played these albums more than any other albums in my entire collection, maybe over the last 10, 15 years, maybe more so than any other album, period. And those two go down to, I had to pull it off the wall because it would be Godsmack, their first album, and Awake. Those are my absolute go-tos. Never get tired of them. Play them all the freaking time. I was just playing this in my car. Was that yesterday? I can't remember. But yesterday, day before yesterday, something like that. But never, ever, ever get tired of it. And those albums just get better every time I listen to them. Now, again, a lot of people aren't Godsmack fans and the whole nine. But actually, I saw them in concert about 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. I saw them once about 5 weeks ago, and then 2 weekends ago I saw them on Saturday night in Kansas City, and then I saw them Saturday night in Kansas City. Then I drove and saw them Sunday night, the very next night in St. Louis. And I mean, I actually have a really cool story to tell you about that, which I'll do in my next update video. But yeah, I saw them 2 nights back to back. So I've seen them like 3 times in the last 40 days or so. And which is like the 10th and 11th time I've seen them, period. Never gets old at all. So yeah, definitely my biggest go-to albums right there. And I'd say if I had to pick between the two, I'd probably go to this one, Awake, more so than any other. And mainly because of the song, the title track, Awake. That might actually be my absolute favorite song to listen to at this point in time. With all the stuff I have, and you guys know my taste is all over the place, I cannot think of a song I like listening to more so than Awake by Godsmack. Seeing in concert, I mean, my favorite song to see them perform is Awake. So there you go. That's my kind of top 6 or 7 on my go-to list. So yeah, again, Steve, congratulations, man. Let me know what you think about my picks. Again, I know it's all over the place, so I'll probably get some positive and some negatives, but that's what the vinyl community is all about, just sharing thoughts and feelings about music. So always appreciate them. And please do, if you have not something to say, that sounds like a challenge, but just some comments or some thoughts on something, whether it's negative or positive. Don't just do a thumbs down or whatever. I mean, feel free to kind of have a conversation. That's just nothing wrong with debating and talking about music that you like and don't like. That's actually the fun piece. So anyway, take care, VC, and we will talk to you soon.